This place has just evolved into this bickering and nonsense and not really doing the job for the American people. It is the worst year of the 9 years and 3 months that I've been in Congress. And having talked to former members, it's the worst year in 40, 50 years.
That was conservative Colorado Republican Congressman Ken Buck on his decision to resign from Congress next week. He had already announced he wouldn't run for re-election, but it's no wonder he wants to call it quits even earlier because, honestly, who in their right mind would want to stay? After all, the Republican Party has become one giant dysfunctional mess devoted to only one goal, serving Donald Trump. Just look at the Republican National Committee. This week, the new leadership began a massive Saddam Hussein-style purge expected to cull more than 60 staffers in a bloodbath to reorganize the political organization so that it falls fully in line with Donald Trump's goals. And while creating a coordinated campaign is a perfectly normal thing once a candidate in either party has secured the presidential nomination, Trump's choices to run the RNC, new chairman Michael Whatley and Trump's daughter-in-law, co-chair Lara Trump, who were installed last week, aren't doing anything normal. Lara Trump has already made it clear that she thinks Republican voters absolutely want their contributions to be used to pay off Trump's legal bills, which means that if you are a Republican candidate running for office, the already strapped National Committee with the smallest amount of cash on hand in a decade has no real plan to help you to increase Republicans' razor-thin and dwindling majority in the House of Representatives. The RNC's only plan seems to be paying off Trump's debts and spreading his election lies. It's like they've turned the RNC into the new family business, now that the state of New York has said they can't do business there. In another move to reshape RNC leadership, former Trump attorney and One American News Network reporter Christina Bobb, who peddled 2020 election lies, was just hired as the RNC senior counsel for election integrity. And today, the RNC sued Michigan Secretary Jocelyn Benson, accusing her of keeping ineligible voters on the state's voter rolls. Back with me is Matthew Dowd. Matthew, again, the RNC has one job, elect Republicans. How are they going to do that if all the money goes to paying Trump's legal bills? Isn't that that's kind of defeating the purpose, no?
Well, as I was listening to you, I was thinking of the famous John McCain quote where he said, he described Russia as a gas station masquerading as a nation, as a country. Yep. Is what this has become is a Trump Venmo account masquerading as a political party. That's actually what it is. And you talk to the former staffers and all that, and they're shocked, the ones that got fired, that Trump wasn't loyal to them in the course of this. I don't understand why local candidates, it's not only the House of Representatives and the committees assigned to that on the Republican side to reelect them and the Senate committee assigned to reelect them. It's somebody running for state rep in Iowa.
Yes.
It's somebody running for governor in another state, all of which are not going to be helped by Donald Trump. I see none of them raising their arms and saying, hey, wait a minute, this is supposed to be to help all of us, not to just one guy to take cash out of and serve his purposes and all this. I don't get it. I don't get the part. I mean, Democrats ought to be cheering this, actually, because I think Lara Trump has no idea what she's doing. It's never run a political campaign, has no idea what she's doing. I didn't think anybody could be worse than the former chairwoman. This is worse than that. So Democrats, but as a legacy political parties and one or two political parties, the idea that you're openly corrupt and use money for personal reasons. I don't get why Republican candidates haven't raised their hand and say stop.
Because it's a cult. It's a cult. They can't even complain. If you complain, then you'll be sent to the Trump gulag. I mean, they had a retreat, the RNC, only 100 people went. Why would you want to go? What are you supposed to do? Go in and say, hail Trump, and then fall on your knees and worship a golden statue of him? What do you do at an RNC retreat? That's why no one wants to go. You've got Lauren Boebert. So Ken Buck is now, he's like, I'm out of here. Lauren Boebert was going to run in his district, but now she's going to stay in, and then she's going to run for, his district, and it's a whole mess there. But he is leaving them in a lurch. I mean, he blindsided the current Speaker of the House, didn't tell him, because he's done. He's fed up. I don't think he even cares if it means that they give up a seat in Colorado. But to your point, what the RNC would normally be able to help with is trying to make sure that they don't lose one of those two seats. But now they don't have any money. They're not going to have any money. Trump's going to use it all.
I was listening to Ken Buck and I'm listening to what he was just played in. My only problem, I get why Ken Buck, it's completely dysfunctional. All of us with eyes can see it's completely dysfunctional Republican. But the problem is Who sent those reps there, right? Who voted for those reps? It's Republican primary voters that put Laura Boebert in
Correct.
office, that put, Green from Georgia in office, that put all these people, they're sitting there not because they just showed up artificially, they're sitting there because of Republican primary voters. I hope Ken Buck understands that. He doesn't speak to them as the problem. The problem is he has to educate voters that put him in office.
Yes.
That's the problem.
Please say that again. I'm obsessed with this right now because even in the Democratic Party, people will say, I don't like my choices, but your choices are made in the primary. The difference between Republicans and Democrats is that 10% of Republicans will show up in the primary and put a mad person on the docket. But then all the Republicans, the other 90%, will still vote for that person in November. Democrats, 10% of them, or 30% in the case of California, will show up in the primary, and then the other 70% say, well, I don't like those choices. The difference is on the Republican side, there is total discipline. A tiny fraction of them are Looney Tunes and show up and put these really weirdo people on the ballot, but they know that in the end, you just have to get on the ballot and Republicans will vote for you. How do you get Democrats to have that kind of discipline? Because Democrats tend to put goody-goo-goo, real politicians and lawyers and people who used to be in student council. They put them on the ballot, and then Democrats are still not happy.
Well, I don't know how either one of us can make sure Democrats are happy with the choices they have in the course of this.
Yeah.
I don't get it. They need some sort of psychological drug or something, I guess, on happiness or whatever in the course of this. I think the difference is, and this is why people that say, well, both sides are dysfunctional, are so ludicrous in the course of this. Democrats, there is a tiny fringe that no matter what, they'd want to have somebody in. But the debates in Democratic primaries are always over some ideological differences. What should we do on policy? How should we handle this? Should we have a higher tax rate? And it's all a debate. Now, you may get more left of center people in the primary and win. That's the thing. But it's never a question of competence. It's never a question, are they competent in this thing? Republicans don't care about competence.
No.
Have no care about competence and whether you can govern. They actually take pride in sending people to Washington that will blow it up. And that's a huge difference between the two parties.
That's right. These are people who run because they hate government and they go for the purposes of creating chaos. They're not going there to do policy or get you more, roads and bridges. No, they're going to blow up government because they're people who hate government who just randomly run and are random people. Whereas, like you said, Democrats go because they have a set of policy ideas they want, and they may differ left to right on what to do, but they actually want to do something. These parties are just not the same at all. Matthew Dowd, it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much for letting me yell into the TV. Thank you.